Hey, hey, hello. Testing, testing, testing the sound. Testing the sound, testing the sound. Testing, 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 testing once again. Testing. All right. This is your Golden Dark Dame coming to you this week on Easter weekend. Make sure that you stay in the loop of every edition, every episode of this week by subscribing, liking, and commenting on these episodes. And also follow me on Instagram, Golden Dark Dame. So this week I am covering topics about the regular, and by now you should be accustomed to my casually late arrival coming online. But aside from that, talking about there's finally been a break in the frequency, the recurrence of relationship splits. So we have a couple who has united on the next level, talking about that, talking about legalization of marijuana and where that has occurred, talking about a change that is going to be visible coming up in entertainment media, as well as somebody's health situation that occurred just within the past 24 hours here. Not good news and concerning. So, starting out, just want to slightly backtrack to one of the topics that I covered in the previous episode of last week, which was the NAACP Image Awards. And the thing about it is, unfortunately, I don't have that much to talk about it. And that is because, unlike all the hoopla that surrounded the Grammy Awards and those winners, I did not catch any of the same hype around nor following the Image Awards, unfortunately. I wonder why that was. But due to that, honestly speaking, I can't even highlight anybody who won an Image Award right now, aside from the preliminary TV presentation award winners, which I previously named. Among those were Mary J. Blige, Cliff Smith, and a few other actors on some highly popular entertainment series right now. But again, after the awards, usually, see stories, get highlights about who was dressed how and who won which awards. And that was not the case for the NAACP Image Awards. Unfortunately, if so, I did not come across that data. So unfortunately, that's not something that I am able to share and revel in for as part of my content for this week. So Aside from that, though, congratulations to everybody who did win an Image Award. NAACP awards are notable awards. That is a notable award series. So I'm sure everyone who won was highly deserving of the category that they won in. Aside from that, um, also at the beginning of this week, something that I do have details on that highlighted the beginning of this week and was so humorous for me personally. So I'm going to be touching on it twice. This is number one touch, and number two touch will come towards the end of me speaking. Number one touch for the fourth season, not even relative to a particular season, but for the series, the OWN network series Ready to Love, came out with a casting call for what will be an upcoming season. And the thing that was so funny about it for me is the location. So their casting call is seeking participants in the location of Washington, D.C. And I had made mention about this when I was covering Ready to Love Season 3 episodes just a couple months ago. At the point when I said that if that show was to, ever cast in DC, and that's where I am, I had some comments around that. So it's happening. It looks like the show is coming here. So that just tickled me so much. Again, personally, and we're going to see what happens because I'm going to seek to be on there. So we'll see. We'll see what happens in the process if I get chosen or not. Um, I'll keep you up to speed. I'll keep you in the loop of what happens with that. But yeah, I'm gonna take my shot to be on that show. I'm going to apply to be on Ready to Love for an upcoming season. So that's touch number one about that particular show. I will be mentioning Ready to Love again. But next, I want to touch on this. I mean, compared to anything else that I usually talk about, which is technically considered to be, pop culture news. This is more along the lines of pop culture gossip. Gossip, not actual news, but gossip. Okay. So apparently, via Twitter, there was an exchange between Tamar Braxton, and Jessica Fire, and Tamar was making some comments about her former fiance, and I guess Jessica Fire had some, she was responding. And it looks like what Tamar had to say was talking about Jessica Fire. But the tweet that I have access to regarding this back and forth was that as Tamar just made a comment. Again, this is based on what I have access to. I'm pretty sure there's more to this exchange that I didn't get to see. But Tamar Braxton tweeted and said he was cheating with his then assistant, now CFO, since 2019, Jessica. Brown face emoji. ... God fixed it. This is when Jessica Fire responds to Tamar's tweet, and Jessica Fire said, "It ain't none of my business, but ... I really liked your fiance. He was a good man, Savannah. But filming that show with you know who wasn't a good idea for you, too. Maybe God can fix that. If not, I pray God sends you your Boaz." So, definitely some shade thrown via Twitter. it appears to be, unprovoked by Jessica, but obviously, since her name was stated by Tamar, Jessica felt the need to respond. And so I don't know what else there is to say about that, again, aside from it being celebrity gossip, which clearly was initiated by a celebrity and not by just, any average Joe Schmo or any old body, just in the general public. So, yeah, that happened. Now, something else that occurred, focusing on couples here, was actually some news following the breakup of Saweetie and Quavo. And it was a video that came out showing an altercation, physical altercation that the two of them had upon getting on an elevator. I don't know where this elevator was located, if it was, at the residence of one of them, or, if it was in a public place, possibly a hotel, or I'm not sure. But again, there is footage from a camera within an elevator that shows the two of them. And when the elevator door opened, either the altercation had just begun or else it was, still in progress upon the elevator door opening. And both Saweetie and Quavo kind of spilling into the elevator. There were other tangible materials involved, and I think it was a matter of Saweetie was holding a bag, or else she was trying to grab a bag from Quavo. And in the process, I think he grabbed her, if I recall from what I saw accurately. He grabbed her as she attempted to grab a bag or some other item out of Quavo's hands. That's the point at which they both spilled into the elevator. And, Saweetie was on the floor of the elevator, and, there was still continuous physical contact going on between the two of them until the point that Saweetie stopped moving. And, so, that's not a good look. And I don't think anything beyond that has come out to explain that activity that occurred between the two of them. But that's your general, that's a general like domestic violence type situation. And the first thought that came to my mind when I saw that footage was, well, hell, this could easily be a reason, even beyond what was reported, as far as just Quavo supposedly cheating on Saweetie. Domestic violence, like, physical altercations, that's more major than cheating, in my opinion. Like, you putting your hands on me, that's an issue. Like, that's a, what do I want to call it? That's a deal breaker. Like I said, that goes beyond and above any other reason. That's for anything else that's going on in a relationship that might not be, so savory. You putting your hands on me, that's, like I said, that's the be all end all. That's that. So, but yeah, footage of a physical altercation. Also, when that was posted, no indication of when that occurred. So, didn't know if it was recently, didn't know if, maybe it was, months ago, not sure. Either way, it's clear, it's apparent that it occurred. And I want to say that's all that really makes a difference, but again, they're broken up now, so that's good that Saweetie, made the choice, made the decision to get away from somebody abusive, somebody who, felt comfortable enough, warranted in putting his hands on her. That's just not acceptable. It's not. So it's actually, probably better that that got captured on video, as just to highlight that and to make it evident that, that's a abuse is a topic that is a topic, and it's an occurrence that does not escape people in the entertainment industry, you know, that we are fans of and that we, call ourselves following. Domestic violence, physical abuse, it does not escape them. It can affect anybody, any age, in any place. So, again, I think it's probably a good thing that that got captured on video and got aired out, raising awareness. So, but they're broken up. So that's a positive. And now to count toward the mend of relationships, giving us proof of the opposite again of this reoccurring trend that's been going strong with people breaking up, people filing for divorce and whatnot, is that celebrity couple who has been dating for at least, how long has it been? Maybe the past year and a half now. I'm estimating based on what I remember. They've been dating for quite some time now. Definitely throughout last year, the year 2020. And so now they had a ceremony and got married on March 27th. And it was 1 year since they had gotten engaged. And who am I talking about? I'm talking about Jeannie Mai, celebrity personality from the show The Real, and her fiance, rapper Jeezy. So they got married. Yeah, they went ahead and tied that knot, jumped over that broom in Atlanta. So they actually had plans to get married sooner. And according to Jeannie Mai, she explained that they ended up changing their wedding plans due to, factors and restrictions of COVID. So, yeah, they went ahead, like I said, and they got that done earlier this week. And they did, like I said, have an actual ceremony. They had guests attend. It was not just them. It was a ceremony. And she said that Jeannie Mai said once everyone was tested and confirmed negative, our guests were shuttled to the surprise location, which was at their home. So that's where they got married and exchanged their vows of matrimony. So good luck to them in their marriage. And, speaking of things changing and things becoming legalized, situations and relationships becoming legalized, something else that became legalized is that the Senate in New York passed a bill to legalize marijuana. So for anybody who was hoping for that in the state of New York, it has happened. It has occurred. And there was, documentation that came out about that. So if the bill gets signed by the governor, then that will mean that New York is the 15th state in the United States to have legalized marijuana use. So, I guess keep your fingers crossed if that's something that you need. And just to be clear, this bill is to legalize recreational marijuana for adults. So this is not just for medical marijuana use. This is for recreational marijuana use for adults. So keep your eyes on that, New Yorkers. If it matters to you, I would keep my eyes on that in general just to be aware if I lived in the state of New York, just so that you know what your rights are. That's always necessary, always important to know what your rights are, either where you live and or where you might consider wanting to live, relocate to. So you got to know what's going on. It's always important, always smart to have that awareness. So next, going on to updates with new entertainment and returning entertainment. There is a new movie that came out via Netflix, having premiered rather on April 2nd, and it is a movie starring lead role Idris Elba and a young man, and I cannot remember this young man's name. I don't know who this boy is. I think he's been in maybe some, sitcoms, maybe Disney Channel. Matter of fact, let me stop saying all that speculation about this boy because I can't even think of his name. But between the young man who really is the actual lead character and Idris Elba, I guess, who is the secondary lead character, this movie is probably like, I don't know, a third of the way all-star cast, and it's called Concrete Cowboy. Now, this movie actually had a virtual premiere screening the day prior on April 1st that was available. And I was able to tune into that. I took advantage of that and I tuned into that premiere screening on April 1st, which included commentary following the screening by the director as well as the cast. And my opinion of this movie, Concrete Cowboy, that is on Netflix, featured on Netflix, and is on Netflix currently as of April 2nd, is that it definitely covers number one, a true story, number two, an untold story. This movie, and without giving it away, because I never tell movies or TV shows. I never, even when people ask me what happened and they want me to tell them like the full story or the ending, I never do that. I never fulfill that request. So just to summarize what Concrete Cowboy is about, it's a story about cowboys and cowgirls in Philadelphia. I want to say it's Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And, likely also maybe a suburb of Philly. But definitely, yeah, it's Black people tending to horses and, caring for, training, nurturing horses in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And, something that they have been doing for years. It's not a recent thing that's been picked up. It's been occurring for years. And so now to the point where with gentrification, taking effect, stables have been kind of wiped out, so to speak. And so there is a lack of resources for the continuation of maintaining, this lifestyle, for cowboys and cowgirls to be able to keep tending the horses, obviously, in the original location, in the original locale within the city, being within the city. So they don't really have a place to, keep these horses anymore. And so the movie again, it's telling a story about that. It turns it into a personal story. You know, highlighting the situation of um, a family and a half. Again, without telling too many details, but yeah, it's a story about family and again, somewhat like really community, the cowboy and cowgirl communities telling that story. And again, this is based on actual events, and it included featuring people within the community that the story was actually talking about. So some of those real life people were, got a role within the movie. So it's pretty insightful and definitely worthwhile to check out the movie Concrete Cowboy. So I don't think anybody will be disappointed in watching that movie. Insightful movie, solidly entertaining movie. Concrete Cowboy on Netflix since April 2nd. So check it out. And now, another update in the media, entertainment media, is that I mean, I'm going to go ahead and just say it like this is to me it was a major surprise. So I can't see how it would not have been a major surprise to anyone else. This news. Um, so according to Gossip, and relative to the series by Shonda Rhimes, co-produced by Shonda Rhimes, Bridgerton, that just recently began and was put on Netflix. Talk about season 2 of Bridgerton. And so the surprising news is that the actor Regé John Page is not going to be, his character is not going to be included on season 2 of Bridgerton. Again, unexpected surprise. I'm sure unanticipated surprise by many of you were of Bridgerton. Many of you were a fan of the show Bridgerton, new show. So, this is something that what happened? Did he say this? I thought I had a quote by the actor that he said. But again, according to Gossip, Regé himself also confirmed that the show, based on Julia Quinn's romance novels, shall be without his character playing the Duke. Page referred to that role by calling it the ride of a lifetime. And I feel like that's, definitely why this news is like so shocking, because really his role on season 1, he's like the main character. Between, starting out, his character was the main character, the Duke. And then Daphne, the character that he meets and who, ultimately they develop, love interest and their characters get married. So Duke was main character, Daphne was main character number 2. So, and again, I'm speaking about Bridgerton, the show Bridgerton. So yeah, it's very surprising news. But again, he spoke to the fact that from the basis of the original story, which is in a book, that his character was not going. Ultimately, his character was not going to continue as far as the TV show goes. So that was already literally written that he wasn't going to remain on there for the whole story. And so yeah, that's pretty much what he had to say about it. Shonda Rhimes told fans on IG that, quote, the Duke is never gone. And, definitely, encouraged folks to binge watch season one, obviously, if you haven't already seen it. So interesting, interesting, interesting. But again, this is entertainment. Things go how they go. Um, and again, the way that the story of Bridgerton was written originally as a book constitutes his character not continuing. So for anybody who didn't already know that, it's a natural sequence that his character will not be continuing long term. But depending on how many seasons are anticipated or hoped for this show to continue, for this series to continue, I think it probably would have been useful for them to have his character, the Duke, continue for, maybe 1/3 or 50% of season two, because I mean, season one, that's when you get warmed up to every character that's on here. So, let alone if you have a character who dies partway through the very first season, that's, you know, unpleasant to watch as a viewer. But again, just based on the manner in which it's scripted, yeah, we'll see whether or not it would have been useful for the producers, for the writers to have carried out the character of the Duke at any degree into season two or not. We won't really know until season two comes on and we get to see it, and how the story flows without the Duke. So yeah, that's the kind of shock with entertainment and network or series network, excuse me, series sitcom Bridgerton. And also, more shocking news that actually came out again within the last 24 hours, which I mentioned at the very beginning. Health status news. So it was reported, excuse me, just around 12 hours ago that the rapper DMX experienced a drug overdose on Friday, and he was hospitalized. And so initially, it was reported that he was on life support, early on being brought to the hospital, and that doctors reported that, or stated rather, that he was in a vegetative state, and that his prognosis is concerning because he's pretty much in the state of having brain damage, and that reportedly, according to gossip, sources say that it took over an hour to resuscitate DMX. So again, they reported that he was on life support, but updated information came out about 7 hours ago, saying that he has that life support has been removed from DMX and that he's breathing on his own. But obviously, so that's a good sign. That's a positive sign. But obviously, he's still in a delicate state. So, and saying this, making this observation, this assessment on my own, it's possible that they might have to put him back on life support, because things change. When you're in a grave condition, you could, teeter totter. You could go up and down and back and forth. But so again, he's still in a critical condition, even though it's been reported that DMX has been removed from life support, and that was reported again about 7 hours ago. So, again, he experienced a drug overdose, which caused him to have a heart attack. And that is the cause, that is what got him rushed to the hospital. So that's it's sad to hear. It's sad to hear that, he obviously, felt the need to dabble back in, you know, substances for this to have occurred and for this to have occurred, obviously, as a result of that. But for anybody who, is aware of DMX, during his career, we all are aware that, he is, you know, he has been a recovering addict for quite some time, beyond his career, beyond the height of his career. So, again, it's sad to see that. And, hopefully things will get better for DMX and his condition. And, if he does bounce back, hopefully he bounces back totally for the better. But yeah, he was in critical condition due to a drug overdose, which caused him to have a heart attack. And it is Easter weekend. It's the beginning of April. Let's say April showers bring May flowers. The weather has already been on a little roller coaster, and it's going to continue. It went down as of yesterday. It was freezing. It was shockingly cold, and I mean that in a literal sense. Like, you went outside, you were outside last night, it was a shiver. Like, if you didn't have a coat on, I'm sure you were struggling, because I had a coat on and I was still struggling. So, but it is expected again to be on the up and up again, with the temperature to rise back again here soon. And when I say soon, I mean within the next day, within the next 2 days, it's supposed to be back on up and up, and then it's gonna dip back down again. But being in Washington D.C., the the kind of excitement and the focal point here at this current time is cherry blossom. So it's an annual thing that people come from. I want to say from around the world, possibly, definitely from around the country, to come to Washington D.C. On an annual recurring basis to literally see cherry blossom trees bloom. And this is these trees, these blossoms are actually, they're not an origin of this region here in DC. Cherry blossoms were actually an import, so to speak. So I believe, if I recall correctly, they were brought from Japan, and obviously, planted here. So again, that is a focal point that people, make regional trips to come to the nation's capital to see. And so with the weather is, become a recurring pattern within the past, I don't know, maybe within the last decade, with the weather being so funny around this time of year and not remaining consistent, that when they report about cherry blossoms on the news and the state of them on the news locally, they always speak to it with like this air of this air of drama, this air of suspense. And so, they speak about it as though, oh, they're probably gonna blossom in 2 days. And it's, always based upon the temperature, and, depending on what the temperature is, the likelihood of, they're gonna delay the cherry blossoms from blooming, or else the cherry blossoms blooming will occur on time. So they always talk about it this way. And it's just a way for them to keep up and build up really excitement for travelers who come here to see that. That's really all that is. But either way, any way you slice it, there's a limited, very short period of time that the cherry blossoms bloom and are visible. And, it's so lovely and pretty. And, they're pink. Again, thus the name cherry blossoms. They're pink flowers blossoming from trees. And it only lasts for, I think regularly the bloom period is only for like 10 days or like less than a week, somewhere around there. So that's another, big factor in the appeal and the drive for people to travel here to see that, because it occurs within a very small period of time that these blossoms, are able to be seen and admired, and images of them captured, and all of that stuff. For anybody who loves art, nature, anything like that, the cherry blossom events are for those folks. Everybody like that. Everybody who cares. And so I say all that to say that's something that's a buzz here locally in Washington, D.C. Also, there was unfortunate news that occurred on Friday here, once again, at the Capitol. So, the Capitol has made headlines again negatively, in a concerning angle. Somebody drove into a portion of barriers that surround the Capitol, and upon doing so, they also ran into, I believe it was at least two, Capitol police officers, that were standing guard. And so one of those officers died, one of those officers succumbed, to those injuries from that occurring. And so the driver of the car that, did this ramming also exited the vehicle, and according to police reports, local news reports rather, he brandished a knife, and then I guess walked, moving in a direction towards, I guess, closer towards either the building or in a direction of other officers. I'm not sure which, but either way, obviously he was focusing going in the direction of the Capitol building. And so after he was outside of his vehicle and brandished a knife, other officers, I guess they gave him verbal warnings, and ultimately he was shot by one of the other police officers and killed. So yeah, that happened here in DC too. Once again at the Capitol building. And what's unfortunately, ironic about that is what's been also been making local news headlines here in DC is that residents of DC who live nearby the Capitol, or else the Capitol building grounds, were kind of a point of reference or point of gathering for those people, have been complaining about the temporary fence setup that has surrounded the Capitol, starting since at least a week after the attacks on the Capitol that occurred back in January. And so certain DC residents have been complaining that they want the fence to come down, mostly because they complained saying, quote, "It's an eyesore." They don't like the way it looks. I mean, that's been the majority complaint. That's been the majority reason why residents have said that they want the fence surrounding the Capitol to come down. And then now something like what occurred yesterday happened. And so I just hope that that situation helped to enlighten and bring to the awareness of those same residents that the necessity and the advantage of that temporary fencing surrounding the Capitol building. It was not placed there to be decorative. It was placed there for protective and preventative measures. So hopefully more people can grasp that now. Now, moving on, beyond that, very soon is going to be the second versus Triller battle. That is going to be between, this is going to be hashtag classic versus Triller battle just based on the artists that are participating. There's actually two groups for this versus. And those iconic, classic, historic groups are the Isley Brothers going against Earth, Wind, and Fire. So if you're not ready, you better get ready to watch it. This versus is going to be available to watch in HD on the IG versus page or on Triller. I haven't become hip to the Triller platform myself just yet. So likely I'm going to be watching it on Instagram because I already have access to that platform. So yeah, versus between Earth, Wind, and Fire and the Isley Brothers will be airing at 5 p.m. Pacific time and 8 p.m. Eastern time on Sunday, April the 4th. Coming up real soon here. Like I said, countdown has begun to watch. Countdown is already in progress for this battle. I'm a little excited about it. And I'm a fan of music from both of these iconic groups. But if anybody asks me who I think will win or should win this battle, I would have to pick, and granted, again, when it comes to Earth, Wind, and Fire, I know, and please, post your comments about this, post your thoughts about this. But for me, when it comes to, comparing who's going to win this battle, and when I assess the group Earth, Wind, and Fire, I know a lot of their songs, but the issue, the difficulty that I have is, number one, being able to name those songs, and number two, being able to say, yeah, upon even hearing a song that I like. It may also be the case that number two, I can't say, oh yeah, that's an Earth, Wind, and Fire song. So that's my setback and my difficulty when it comes to assessing, music by the group Earth, Wind, and Fire, as far as, if I proclaim, fandom for them. I cannot tell you that many songs by Earth, Wind, and Fire by title. Now, when I hear those songs, number one, I know, and it probably takes a little longer for me to be able to identify as being a song by them versus being able to possibly name the title of the song. So it's kind of weird. It's kind of weird for me, liking music by Earth, Wind, and Fire. But now when it comes to the Isley Brothers, yeah, I got very few problems identifying their music, identifying song titles of theirs. So I think I would have to go with estimating a winner to be the Isley Brothers. And to the point that I am, there's at least, I'm going off the top of my head, by saying there's a minimum of 3 songs by Isley Brothers that I hope that they include in this battle, and a minimum of 1 song by them that I hope they incorporate this battle. And that 1 song is a song that is more recent compared to probably all of their hits and all of the songs by most people will know when they hear. But this one song, like I said, if they don't play any of these minimum of 3 songs that I think they should play in their battle in the battle, there's one song by the Isleys I feel like they should play. And like I said, it doesn't have as much clout behind it that it should, but I still count this song as a hit. And I'm going to tell you the name of the song in the comments just to put it on record, because I'm not going to be coming back on, talking about it for a couple more days, just based on the timing of me spacing out my episodes. But who do you think is going to win this versus between Isley Brothers and Earth, Wind, and Fire? I think, kind of hope that it will be the Isley Brothers, and I hope that they will play their song. Again, it's a more recent song, and the name of the song, I'm telling you, is like so slept on. This song is so slept on. This is really why I hope that they play it. The song is called Move Your Body. I really hope that they include that song in their playlist in the battle that's going to be occurring very soon through, by Versus Triller. Versus TV, I'm going to be watching the battle through the Versus TV Instagram platform. I hope they play. If they play this song, if Isley Brothers plays this song, I'm a go crazy. And likely it won't be nobody around me, so I'll be in my place screaming and shouting for maybe 5 seconds, 5 to 7 seconds. Some of my neighbors will hear me if they're around, but yeah, I really, really hope that they spotlight that song. I hope somebody puts the buzz in their ears for them to do that, because that would be so dope. That would make it like great if that gets played during the battle. And hopefully, more people can become aware of how hot of a song it is. Like, it's the type of song that like automatically gives you like family reunion vibes, cookout vibes, line dance vibes. Like, no question. So yeah, again, that's for the upcoming Versus Triller battle going down in hours. Countdown is on. Within less than 24 hours from now, it's going down. So that'll be excellent. And finally, coming back around to the show Ready to Love. And now this is specific to the season 4 of Ready to Love. And so it premiered on Friday, April 2nd. Now, the way that this came out was, it was the introduction episode. And so this season, just like season 3, occurred in Houston, Texas. Now, this is something that clearly stuck out to me, because I've already been stating, at least for my last 2 This Week episodes, that I was curious to understand why, this next season, following the season that just concluded, came about, being broadcast so soon. Because it's only been 3-4 months since season 3 of Ready to Love concluded. So now we're on season 4. And so I said, well, maybe that will be explained once season 4, episode number 1 airs. Well, unfortunately, No, that the reason behind the quick turnaround in between seasons was not made evident. It was not explained. Um, but the thing about the premiere episode for Ready to Love season 4 was that it seems that this season and this cast, with both season 3 and this season being in Houston, having participants rather from Houston, being from Houston, is that it looks like they taped this season, like production taped this season before they taped season number 3. Why do I say that? Well, it's very clear to tell. Reason being, really just paying attention to the visual surroundings when they show each member. So this season appears to have the same, again, premise with the visual surroundings, and it looks like everybody's going to be going about their regular day-to-day lifestyles, and therefore they're going to be coordinating, I guess, the times and the locations of dates having dates among each other. Whereas if you haven't seen season 3 of Ready to Love, due to COVID, the season took place in an isolated fashion, which was on a resort. And again, although the cast members for Ready to Love season 3 featured were from Houston, Texas, because they were isolated / quarantined while taping, the resort that they were on actually wasn't even in Houston. From what I know, the resort was in Atlanta, Georgia. So now season 4, like I said, their premiere episode Friday night, you don't see the same type of setting or setup for these Houston participants. Again, it looks like they're going about their regular day-to-day because the surroundings that they're introduced, being introduced in, are just general public settings, and that's why it's like, okay, so seemingly they just I wonder whose decision it was. Production seemingly flipped broadcasting cast of season 4 in the chronology of that. They flipped it with broadcasting the cast of Ready to Love season 3. They flipped the chronology of when each cast was filmed. So due to that, I still remain puzzled. I still remain puzzled of why they aired each season so closely, why they were aired so closely in between. And now this, with the setting changes. And really, that kind of cancels itself out based on what I just explained, what I noticed. Number 2, the chronology of the broadcasting. This season has regular settings. How come it didn't air prior to the COVID setting being broadcast and put on air? Why didn't they keep it in regular chronology? I want to know why. I might try to contact that network and find out why. I really am curious to know, I want to understand why they did it like this. So I don't know. Again, it's still this type of thing that makes you scratch your head. But that's how it's looking. And again, it was strictly an introduction episode. So it just showed all the characters. I'm not going to go into, a character review. Like I've noticed quite a few other YouTubers have done, going down to, running the gamut and just going down and doing their own personal descriptions or, forming opinions about each individual cast member. I'm not going to do all that. For me, if I did want to do that, it's definitely too early to call that out because it's possible that when they show the episode next week, at a minimum of one person is going to get the boot. So why assess and try to summarize an opinion of personalities when they kick people off early? So, and obviously, once we get to see all these cast members actually interact with each other, that's going to be the real platform to be able to, tell how people are, how people's personalities are. So that's it. That's everything for this week. If you like my style, you enjoyed my flow, make sure you like, share, subscribe, and comment on this Golden Dark Dames content. And make sure you also follow me on Instagram. Until the next one, stay in the loop.